Black Ops?
What's going on, New Gaming Order? We back like Juggernaut bitches, and I know, like I said, we are promising to do more content on a more continuous basis. So today I have Brother Nuke, I got Nelson, my co-CEO, co-producer, and Demizzle from Free Play Mode coming at you for a impromptu podcast on rumors that the next PlayStation and the Xbox consoles are currently in development. Now, what I'm gonna do, if you give me a second, I'm gonna put the link to that in the chat so you guys can check it out. So yeah, I'm gonna get all over the place with this, but apparently Microsoft and Sony are already thinking of the future. Alright, it was unexpected news. If you guys want to verify, it's just rumors, take it with a grain of salt. ValueWalk.com has some concept art of what these new systems could potentially look like, and from what I see, the PS5 concept looks pretty cool. I'm not too keen on the Xbox, and they're calling it Xbox 2. The name Xbox 2, really? That's stupid. They need
Terrible.
to, yeah. But what the one thing that comes as a surprise.
720.
Yeah, well, but with that, laying down the foundation before I give the group the floor, it's something where this is kind of odd, seeing that this generation or the 8th gen is not lasting as long as the previous gen. Okay. I think that's a response to the systems being underpowered, rushed to market, and Microsoft and Sony trying to one-up each other, But a couple of things from the article that stood out to me is that AMD is currently trying, bidding to offer to create their CPU, APU units for these next systems, and they're going to be moving to the x86 architecture. They're already there. But, if AMD does this, this will pretty much ensure that backwards compatibility for the current gen going into 9th gen. Wow, it's hard to even process that because these systems are still 2 years in the shoot, But overall, I am just a firm advocate of getting on both companies. Microsoft and Sony were just behind the ball with the technology. 4K, they're looking at streaming capabilities and how that can play a part in the future with that. So to open the floor to the staff, I wanted to give Noop some time to chat, and Noop at the end to by request, one of our fans wanted to get your thoughts on the censorship for Street Fighter 5, but that'll be at the end of the broadcast. But what are your thoughts on the rumors for the next or 9th gen consoles supposedly surfacing, and more evidence? Before I give Nuke the floor, there's actually job postings from Sony, looking for a lead project or gaming development and engineers and things of that nature. And the last time that happened for anything in terms of putting out job postings was Capcom, but prior to Street Fighter 5. So I'm thinking that there's some weight to this, but it remains to be seen. But Noob, what are your thoughts on this?
Wow. If this turns out to be true and these consoles come quick, I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing. I mean, the world as we know it is very trendy. I mean, the newest thing. I mean, look at cell phones. You get a new cell phone every year. You get the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to 6. And my thing is this: without time to see how these flesh out, kind of like with the PS2 and the regular Xbox, we saw the greatest parts of those consoles at the end of their life cycle. If you don't give these things time to pan out a little bit, I mean, I don't know how people are gonna feel about buying a new console every 5 years. That's kind of quick. I do know that typically they do start working on the next console once the new ones come out, but after reading that article, I was like, oh,
Ooh.
yeah. Yeah, it was interesting. I don't think they're gonna look like that though because
The PS5 looks dope though. I'm not gonna lie.
But they're too slim, man. They're too slim. Unless they get it right the first time, because they never get it right the first time. There's always an issue. Then we get a slim model 2 years later that they want us to buy. Yeah, I don't think they're gonna be able to start out that slim, but and at the same time, I'm excited. As far as them keeping up, I don't think gaming consoles. I don't think we'll ever be able to keep up unless, like we said in a previous podcast, you can do, upgrades at home because I mean something new, gaming wise and graphic wise, always comes out. In the midst of the console being out, so you can't. You have to future-proof it somehow.
Yes.
Other than that, it's quote-unquote rumors, but we shall see. I mean, with the way news outlets are, we'll have more news sooner rather than later. So
now you said before I give free play mode the floor, future-proofing. If you read the article, somewhere in there it says that AMD is looking to offer backwards compatibility. So I guess. With that, it's like they're trying to ensure that people will migrate over to it, and then if they do the streaming and things of that nature, that the architecture or the chipset that they're promising to produce is supposed to be 5 times more powerful than the current generation. So I mean, they got a lot of time to really. But then again, it's speculation, folks. Please don't cut my head off over this. But switching gears, Demizzle, what are your thoughts on these rumors and pictures floating around about the next consoles?
I'm not really surprised at all.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, people have to remember that the typical console generation is 5 to 6 years. Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 were anomalies in console gaming because prior to that, no console had lasted more than 5 to 6 years before their predecessor, before the next one came out, before their replacement came out. So it's not at all a surprise because, like, if they're starting work now on it, that means it won't be out for another 2 to 3 years, and this is year 3. We're entering year 3 for both the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One. Not that huge of a surprise to hear that they're working on the next Xbox and the next PlayStation. Not like surprise at all. In fact, I actually expected it because of 4K, like the demand for 4K content is really starting to pick up, and I didn't expect 4K to come in and be this like in demand so soon. I thought it would take at least like 4 to 5 more years.
Yeah,
I got something to say about that too. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's not really a surprise. It's actually typical. We're getting back to the typical console life cycle from what it seems. And to respond to something that Noob said about future-proofing, it's impossible to future-proof a console because consoles have never been the top of the line technology.
Right.
Like in terms of computer hardware, they've never been the top of the line in comparison to computer hardware. Like in terms of computer hardware, they've always been like it's an upper end, but never the latest and greatest technology that has come out, with the exception of the cell processor. And that wasn't necessarily even made for gaming purposes. That was made for streaming HD content such as high resolution medical images.
Okay. All right.
It's not at all a surprise. It's not like the biggest news in the world.
Okay. Is your mic good? You're cutting out a little bit.
I'm on my Xbox One.
Oh, okay.
Using your Kinect.
Yeah.
Oh, that's probably why the volume was a little bit low. But okay. Did you finish your point before I give co-CEO a spin?
Yeah.
All right. Nelson Del Rio, what are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? What the heck? Shut up. Like doing Zangief. Oh yeah. All right, but Nelson, what are your thoughts on the topic?
Well, I mean, in images floating around about having new consoles coming about, and for them to have this to happen, I mean, excuse me, like let's be realistic. So you're telling us that we're gonna have to buy a possible another console within a shorter life cycle than any other console generation has ever had?
Well, they're talking about 2018, possibly 2018.
Or 2020.
Yeah,
they said 2020. The current systems won't fit in with the look either, which is ridiculous.
But and you know what? They just can't keep up. The consoles can't keep up right now because PCs are just. And you know what? Demiso made an interesting point. The consoles have never been the top of the line, but they've been formidable. Like you can run stuff at at least at max, like the mid-level PC, setting. And that's what another thing. I would hope that these new consoles will allow you to do PC style settings. Like if you want to turn off anti-aliasing, you can do that. If you want to dial down the resolution, you can do that. I think that's something that should be given a thought going into this new gen. Try to do something different, but Nelson, you got the floor.
But I just don't honestly see the point in expressing rumors if it's not actual fact. Yeah, we can only speculate, but they to me they just have to focus on the bullshit with the rumors, get it to the point where we have to keep on point with the what's out right now. PlayStation 4, Xbox One, the Wii U, and of course computers update every fucking 6 months, so it's not even an issue, seriously. But I just feel like, why bother to think that far ahead? We're only in 2015. You're trying to make a possible console in either 2018 or 2020, so that's even a 3 to 5 year gap of right now. Don't concern yourself with that. Just focus on what is needed to be done. For some fans, it might be the backwards compatibility. For other fans, it might be the the DirectX 12 upgrade to, for the GPU processing and stuff like that. Focus on all that first instead of worrying about what your other competitors might be doing. Like, you can't handle PC. Let's just be realistic. PC will always be ahead of the fucking game. Every 6 months, oh yeah, new NVIDIA card, oh new RAM card, oh new motherboard, new processing chip. You can't keep up with that shit. Yeah,
standalones versus a PC with the customization. That's their one hurdle. But I do want to play devil's advocate where if consoles are to keep up with PC, the increase in the cost would be the problem. And I think that they're trying to offer the best of both worlds. Like, hey, you know what? Your standalone system that doesn't cost an arm and a leg. Because, and Demiso can back me, Free Play Mode can back me, and they're the same people. But, NYC Playboy, Nelson, you know how it is. If you really want that top of the line super duper computer, you're gonna pay like a G or more, so with that, I think that it's just trying to balance the price points between getting good performance but not at exotic prices, so with that being said, is just I see what you're saying in terms of but overall I know that it might seem to be too soon. But the news dropped, and I think that whomever is leaking this information, or ValueWalk.com, I don't think it was them directly, but it's just something where don't chump your current technology, because look at Nintendo, with the Wii U and then the NX and whatnot. I mean, the way that they're doing that, it's like you want to have the customers have faith in what they have, because initially when I saw the article, I'm like, oh man, I got buyer's remorse, because soon this is going to be obsolete, and you want to keep people buying your product with confidence. And I think I speak for the majority of the consumers when I say that. If anybody wants to respond to that, go ahead, and if not, we can start doing our wrap up.
No, I just wanted
to yeah, go ahead Demiso.
Here's the thing, as I said before, as soon as a console is released, it's not gonna be the top of the line, and it's not as soon as it's released, but like maybe a year or two after, once they see how it's performing,
Yeah.
they're already in the pre-development stages of the next machine. That's how it has historically been. So it's
But
not
this
like,
soon though? This soon, like,
like look at the Nintendo and the Super Nintendo. They had the Super Nintendo. Like the Nintendo was originally released in 1983 in development. 1986, they began development on the Super Nintendo. It was in the pre-planning stages, even though it wasn't released until 1990.
Okay.
For the Sega Genesis, the Sega Master System came out in 1984. The Sega Genesis was in development in 1986.
Well, Sega was a different story. They were like developing, like they would release something, and then like the next week they're already starting on a new system. Like they're on.
Look at the Sony PlayStation and the Sony PlayStation 2. The Sony PlayStation came out in 1995. They were planning the Sony PlayStation 2 in 1997, 1998, and it came out in 2001. So it's not like they don't plan ahead for the next step. That's been going on since the console game has been around. It's just like, okay, the news finally made it out of Sony or Microsoft or Nintendo corporate headquarters, and someone was able to get their hands on it and release it to the public. But internally, they know what they're gonna do. Like as soon as they release the next console, they know that, okay, now that we have this out the door, what are we going to do going forward in terms of our next effort?
Yeah.
We'll have to support what we have out, but we have to get on the ball and figure out what we're going to do. We have to figure out what technology is going to be at the price point that we're going to be willing to spend on our next console. Like, what's going to be the trend? What's going to be the next thing? Like, Sony and Microsoft didn't anticipate 4K, so
yeah,
that's going to be what the next console is going to be focused on. It's going to be like, okay, we didn't expect 4K to come out and be as strong as it didn't. We didn't expect it to take hold as soon as it did. So
yeah.
To focus our efforts on 4K gaming going forward. So what's an affordable price point that we can put in our next console for 4K gaming?
Okay. All right. Now with that, so let's start. Yeah, go ahead, Noob.
Quickly, two things with the 4K thing. I think that's just a bunch of talk because number one, if you don't have a 4K TV, it don't matter anyway. And I have a 4K TV, and regular 1080p looks freaking gorgeous. The Mizzle, I know you didn't get a chance to, but the article that's on the Newgamingorder Facebook page, they even said that these next consoles probably more than likely won't have the power to push 4K. Like PCs can barely do 4K depending on what you got in there. So I don't think that's gonna be the big push. And also, like, you're right. It's always been like the next console, you know, has always been in development right after. But the news has a different impact this day and age. Like this day and age, what's new is what's in. It's what
trend. We're in a trendy society now.
Yeah, you will literally forget about today when you hear about tomorrow. Like back in the day, like when you were playing your Nintendo, you wouldn't have cared if they would have said, "Oh, we're working on the Super Nintendo." You wouldn't care. You're like, "Okay, so I'm enjoying my Nintendo." But now,
I care.
You know,
like when I read that in EGM and Nintendo Power, like when it first got leaked, I was waiting for it.
But see,
I think news is coming out too fast though.
Like it would today.
Yeah, I think that social media, the news is leaking too quickly. You know, like people can't like. I lost me.
Companies got to keep people talking about them.
Yeah, they need that buzz.
Unfortunately, that's what they got to do. They got to, especially Microsoft.
Hasselhoff, is that his company?
He dropped his name, yo. His last name is Hassel, yo. He
Dang.
dropped the off his name. You didn't hear that?
All right. So with that, New Gaming Order audience, for this impromptu podcast, make sure you rate, comment, and subscribe. Check us out on newgamingorder.com. Follow our social media outlets. Also, make sure you're directed to the free play modes channel. You know, Demizo, if you want to plug your website and Facebook and whatever else you have, you know, now you have the time. Damn, Armika got boots.
All right,
on.
people, look look out for a new EA Sports fight prediction because Anderson Silva versus Vitor Belfort 2 was announced for UFC 197 taking place in March of next year. So I'm going to be doing a prediction video on that coming up soon. And be sure to check out my ongoing NBA 2K16 videos.
All right. Also, Demizzle, I'm calling you out in UFC. I got some training. I may lose the first fight, but it's on, baby. I'm accepting the challenge. Yes, and Nelson's gonna be my backup dancer.
How am I gonna do that?
I was just playing. But with that, do give it order, audience. Also, tonight is Survivor Series. Those of you who checked out my video talking about possible terror threats on that, thank you for the support and the numbers on that. I see we have a strong WWE following on this channel, so I'll continue to provide content in that respect. Nelson, any announcements before we log off?
Honestly, no. Sadly to say, I don't.
Dang, Nelson got nothing to say. Shut up. All right, it's all good.
Know about the podcast day changing for next week.
Okay, also PSA, due to the holiday, we are going to be doing the podcast on Wednesday. Again, I reiterate, Wednesday. We do that every year so that we're not bombarding folks and interrupting anyone during Thanksgiving dinner. So happy Thanksgiving to our audience. And we're next year, I'm hoping we're in the same place with possibly 2,000 or 3,000 subs. Hopefully we're getting there. Shout out to Full Screen, our partner, and we out like Juggernaut bitches. We'll see you guys tonight after the Survivor Series pay-per-view. Peace. And with that, guys, we are off. Oh shoot, what the heck?
And you said somebody wanted me to respond.
Oh, wait a minute. We're still on, Noob. Yes. I got the intermission screen, but what are your thoughts quickly before we I stop the broadcast on the Armika Cammy censorship thing? I don't know if you saw that show, but you had to get off a little early. But you know, I want to make sure I take care of the fans who, you know, you have fanship. Lyoko Lion has fanship. It's funny, like sometimes they don't want to see me and Nelson, so you know, it's good that yo, for real, I'm dead serious. All right, go ahead.
That's a little creepy. Nah, toning back to sexuality, I mean, look at Dead or Alive, dude. But seriously, the only reason I could think of a game needing to tone down the sexuality if they're trying to achieve a certain type of rating for the game. Other than that, I mean, if you don't want your kids to see it, don't buy it. You're buying Grand Theft Auto anyway, so I mean, it's I don't know. This generation is very sensitive to sexuality, feminism, homosexuality, meat eaters, vegans, vegetarians. You can't do anything anymore without offending somebody. So
their butt hurt.
To me, it's not a big deal. I mean, I've been playing games for long enough to know and see all kind of crazy stuff, and I mean, it's just part of the character. But you know, you're toning it down for the kids to be more family friendly. Salute to you, Crapcom.
But Noob, did you see the butt slap?
You can't even dance in the end zone without offending somebody.
I know, right?
Yo, yeah.
Yeah, you get what was that? 15-yard penalty. I'm like, come on, man. They
You
need to
have
stop.
some butthurt mom write to the paper about how you portraying poor sportsmanship.
Yeah, you know what? It's our generation, the 30s, the 30s somethings that are like, what the fuck happened? Develop some thick skin, like Arnie Nee said on Thursday.
Nope,
like, stop.
Everybody gets a trophy.
Mm-hmm.
No, everybody gets a trophy.
Okay, so hopefully that honored the requests of our viewers. So, Noob, they love you, man. So, New Gaming Order, we
You
are
need to subscribe to Thumb Thrasher Gaming on YouTube.
Butt Masher Gaming. What? New Gaming Order, we out like the Juggernaut, bitch. Peace.